Before I apply the makeup, I'm going to put on the horns that I've made, and I'll have a tutorial for this on Tuesday, but then after that I'm going to be moving on to BB cream. I'm just going to dab it around the face and then blend it out with a brush, but you can use your fingers as you've seen me do a million times before. And once I've blended this out, I'm going to apply a little bit more over the cheeks and then the corners of the eye, and I'm going to be blending that part out with my fingers. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in my brows, and the main part for me that tends to get a little sparse on my brows is the arch of my brow, and then at the very bottom at the start in the inner corner. Normally after that I brush through them with a spoolie just to make sure I don't have any obvious hand-drawn lines, and then I'm going to apply eye primer and blend that out with my fingers. Before I move on to the eyeshadow, I'm going to apply the highlighter in a C shape. It's going to start underneath the brows and then work its way onto the top of the cheek, and then you're going to blend that out with your fingers or the brush that you used for foundation previously. Then a little bit more highlighter just on the bridge of the nose, which again I'm going to blend out with my fingers. And then I'm going to be applying this beautiful Dazzle dust from Barry M. Unfortunately I think it's discontinued now, but you need to use anything which has a pink and a beautiful duochrome underneath with that gold. On the lower lid I'm going to be using a grey eyeshadow from the new Urban Decay palette, and this is going to start on the outer corner of the eye, work your way into the inner corner. But I'm going to try and make sure that this eyeshadow at the edge of my eye, instead of going up where it would follow a wing, which is going to be a little bit more pointing towards the edge of my eyebrows, this instead is going to point down instead. And what I'm going to do is use a slightly darker grey eyeshadow on the very outer corner to blend those two. So I'm using two colours, one which is more of a dusty grey and one which is more of a very faded black, before I go over this with an eyeliner, starting in the inner corner of the eye. And then instead of doing a very sharp wing, we're going to do a very subtle wing. In the inner corner I'm going to be using a really lovely colour from Sugar Pill called Lumai, and I'm going to drag this down a little bit more than just in the inner corner. You're going to try and bring this down onto the sides of your cheeks as well. For the lower lashes I'm going to be applying mascara. For the lips I'm going to be layering a few different products. I'm going to start off with the Milani colour Nude, and then over that, once I've filled in the whole lip, I'm going to be using the colour Trinket, and then on the outer corner I'm going to be using a mulberry colour, but first I'm just going to blend out the edges with my fingers. I don't want this to look a very sharp, heavy, laid on look. It's got to blend in. You know I don't like sharp lines around my lipstick, so I blend that out with my finger before I blend out all the other lipstick colours, and then apply a bit of highlighter on the cupid's bow, which again I'm going to blend out with my fingers. Then we're going to do a tiny bit of contouring on both sides. Obviously we don't want a lopsided face. And then we're going to start moving on to white eyeliner. And the easiest way to do this, especially if you're not sure of yourself, is to start with one side and then just mirror that onto the other side. That being said, some people find it quite hard to replicate things and flip them over like you would have to do on this. So what you could do instead is just start off in small chunks. So start with the mouth first, do the whole mouth, and then move on to the cheeks, and then move on to the eyes, and then move on to the forehead. And then maybe you should have started off with the chin first, but you get my general idea. Try and do it in chunks, or at least try and follow the way that you think is going to work best for you. And if you mess up a little, it's fine. It's really easy just to rub out the liner and draw it again. Now we're going to get our hands on some neon eyeshadows. I'm going to be using a colour from the Electric palette, but you could also use the Sleek Acid palette, any brand that you have to hand. It really doesn't matter, whatever works for you. I'm going to start off with yellows, then move on to oranges, then pinks, then magnetas, and then blues. And I'm not going to be covering all the lines. And the reason you need to have this white line underneath is you could go straight onto the skin, but it is going to end up being a lot duller unless you have that white undertone to really make those colours pop. Now for the spaces that I've left free, what I'm going to do is take a white eyeliner, but not before I add a few rhinestones. So I've added the rhinestones, I'm going to take the liquid eyeliner and I'm going to use this on the places where I've left that white still showing and I haven't coloured it in with another colour. Also on those edges you can see, instead of just stopping, I'm going to keep going so that they gradually fade out. I'm going to do this over the whole face, especially on the corners of the nose, around the teeth, and then that's it. You're done.